Europe is in a full-blown energy crisis as prices soar after a key pipeline from Russia to Germany remains shut. Ines Ferre is here to break down how Europe's energy crisis could impact not just the region, but other parts of the world as well.
We are really seeing a sort of economic war between Europe and Russia because of that pipeline that you were just mentioning. Russia won't reopen that pipeline unless sanctions against Russia are lifted.
One reason that Russia shut down that entire Nord Stream gas flow to Germany is that it wants those Western sanctions removed on its oil.
This is very concerning about what might happen to Europe over the winter, but we are seeing natural gas and oil prices come down on concerns about a global recession. How do you balance these two things? What ends up weighing or taking more weight, and could both things happen at the same time?
The problem is that Biden engaged the United States in a proxy war without a real explicit discussion, number one. And then number two is then we pulled and we pressured Europe to really draw a hard line, but then now are kind of working around it so that the countries that suffer the most are Europe.
Germany will probably be the first to capitulate, but it'll be a combination of the United States and Europe who negotiate some kind of a settlement.
Russia is attacking Europe with its energy card. Now Europe is struggling to contain an energy crisis that could lead to rolling blackouts, shuttered factories, and a deep recession. It's going to be a very, very cold winter. In this video, Chamath Palihapitiya highlights what's going on with the Europe energy crisis and what could be the endgame of this issue. Can it affect the market and economy? Stay tuned till the end, and if you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe for more videos on the market and latest updates.
There's a very structured framework for energy production, which is OPEC and OPEC plus. And, they have done not just the Middle East, but frankly, the Middle East plus United States, the best job possible to basically get the maximum demand so that there's as much energy as possible. The reasons that Europe are in an energy crisis really should be discussed honestly. So, number one, an entire continent essentially allowed a 16-year-old girl to dictate their energy policy. And when Greta Thunberg was able to shame an entire continent into basically walking away from nuclear and not really evaluating how you can actually have energy independence, what they did was they put Europe in an incredibly fragile position. And at the beginning of this war, it wasn't clear how much damage the lack of Russian energy would do to the European economy. But now it's absolutely clear. The problem is you had these, look, to be honest, you had these two goofballs. You had a goofball on the left, which was a 16-year-old girl who knew nothing. And you had a goofball on the right, which is a president whose language turned people off, even though the message that he was delivering was 100% right. When Trump went to the United Nations, he was clear, he was precise, and in hindsight, and I'm saying this as a Democrat, he was right about the German reliance on Russian gas.
The world's energy infrastructure is failing in entirely foreseeable and foreseen ways. Russia has now turned off its supply of natural gas in the rest of Europe, and Russian officials say the Nord Stream pipeline will stay off until sanctions against Moscow are lifted. Unfortunately, in Europe, who are paying their energy bills, the energy crisis in Europe has been worsening. According to Chamath, the dependence on oil from Russia has been one of the main reasons. Germany steadily increased its reliance on Russian gas while reducing alternative sources of energy, such as nuclear power, even after Russia invaded Ukraine. And now Germany has been forced to admit it was a terrible mistake. Britain also closed its last major gas storage facility in 2017, leaving it no cushion against the volatile prices that were caused by Germany's decisions. But now it's planning to reopen once again.
The problem is that Biden engaged the United States in a proxy war without a real explicit discussion, number one. And then number two is then we pulled and we pressured Europe to really draw a hard line, but then now are kind of working around it so that the countries that suffer the most are Europe. We need to find an organized detente here because there is, according to Europe, a Lehman-like situation in terms of economic contagion that could manifest over the next months. So I think that the end game is probably some organized, negotiated detente and ceasefire. I don't think anybody will be happy with it, but I think by and large, Russia is and has won, meaning they've won economically. They're selling oil like it's not, like it's going out of style. It's just not selling it to Europe and to America. They're selling it to China. They're selling it to Africa. They're selling it to India.
Chamath highlights that Europe is suffering the most and is in a layman, the situation in terms of economic contagion. If this continues over the longer term, energy-intensive businesses may simply give up on Europe. The crisis deepened when Russia's state-owned exporter Gazprom said the main pipeline carrying gas to Germany would stay closed, blaming an oil leak and claiming the problems could not be fixed because of sanctions, barring many dealings with Russia. Before jumping to the next clip, don't forget to give a big thumbs up.
And so now you have this situation where the entire continent of Europe is probably on the precipice of, at the minimum, a recession. But frankly, there's a lot of scenarios where it could be meaningfully worse. And I think what it does is ultimately it has forced the Russian endgame. And that Russian endgame is essentially the following, which is that Germany will probably be the first to capitulate. But it'll be a combination of the United States and Europe who negotiate some kind of a settlement. The reason the settlement is necessary is you're going to start to impact tens of millions of people's lives in an incredibly arduous way. And those people are asking their leaders to tell them why it's worth it. That's why you're seeing protests all around Europe. People have decided that this war has gotten 2 or 3 steps beyond what they thought they were getting into, and that it was shining light on a whole set of decisions that never should have been made.
The entire continent of Europe is under pressure and a minimal recession. In many scenarios, it could be worse, and Chamath believes that ultimately it will be forced to the Russian endgame. According to Chamath, to get rid of this problem, some kind of settlement would be negotiated. Did Russia cut off gas to Europe for the whole winter season? How could Europe's energy crisis have a ripple effect on the US? What settlements could be negotiated? How will the euro energy crisis affect the economy and, more importantly, the crypto market? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. For more updates on the world economy and market, be sure to subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you guys in my next video. Adios, and thanks for watching.